Section 31 begins Phase 2 for Paramount Plus. Star Trek merch announcements, the Roddenberry Vault opens, and a new Star Trek game is finally on the horizon.
This is Trek Zone's Sci-Fi News.
The Star Trek news you need to know now. With the confirmed return of Philippa Georgiou in the made-for-streaming movie Section 31, which has been retooled from the live-action series first announced way back in the early days of Discovery's run, we now understand this to be the beginning of Star Trek Phase 2 for Paramount Plus. It's an era where oversaturation of the franchise is top of mind for executives, in stark contrast to the Star Trek all-year strategy in the beginning, which never quite materialised. The Hollywood Reporter says that Section 31 will take Trek to longer format stories rather than straight to series productions, and that's something I can get behind. Well, despite Strange New Worlds' first season ending with the court-martial of number 1, she's back and in uniform for the trailer that dropped after the last Sci-Fi News. Starbase One is back too, and some of the Klingons in a series first, and they've got their classic TNG look going for them. The genetic differences abound in the Klingon Empire, and I love it. We're also time travelling with Paul Wesley's James Kirk and Christina Chong's Lian Noonien Singh visiting a 21st century retail store, with Kirk confounded by a revolving door. We also get a glimpse of our new chief engineer, Pelia, played by Carol Kane, and Uhura is no longer a cadet. Or from books to music and collectibles, it's been a great week if you're a Star Trek collector. Patrick Stewart's memoir began during the pandemic and promises to cover his life from the stage to screen across Star Trek and X-Men. It'll be available as a hardcover, ebook and audio CD. The soundtracks for Picard's third season and Strange New Worlds' first are available now from Lakeshore Records. The 29-track Strange New Worlds and 45-track Picard soundtracks are available both digitally and on YouTube. Prodigy's first Playmates figures are out now. Dowell with Murph, Gwendala, Zero and Jankum Pog are all available in 5-inch size with multiple points of articulation. Now, while Hologram Janeway is available for pre-order, Rock Tack and the Protostar are not available at the time of recording. Well, here's a nice surprise. Roddenberry Entertainment have been working with tech company Otoy to develop the Roddenberry Archive, a digital collection of Gene Roddenberry's work. Otoy has spent the last few years recreating the interiors of the Starship's Enterprise, with a portal now available to tour her bridges online. A collection of mini-documentaries are available on Otoy's YouTube channel as well, with a fully CGI recreation of the Enterprise's crash site on Veridian 3 and a certain prominent member of the flagship visiting a certain other prominent member's gravesite. Terry Matalas has made it clear in a number of interviews that there is no development work underway for the hugely anticipated Star Trek Legacy that his third season of Picard set up, telling SFX magazine, quote, "Those shows are expensive to make." Matalas elaborates that he thinks Paramount would be hard-pressed to justify a third live-action production. Talk, however, does continue between current Star Trek head Alex Kurtzman and Matalas, with Kurtzman telling Fox LA that anything is possible and that he has heard the fans loud and clear. Well, news that slipped through to the keeper for me has been the next Star Trek game, and we finally have something that isn't a real-time strategy or a war epic, as fun as Armada was, Bridge Commander even. And we've been promised a narrative adventure game by small studio Dramatic Labs, with a release date confirmed for May 23 this year. It's a date that comes after 2022's original target came and went, with developers reporting they were unhappy with where the game was at, with the decision taken to delay to improve the first play experience. This will be the next Trek Zone Plays series. And finally this week, a moment to recognise the incredible achievement of my friends over at the Trek Geeks. Bill Smith and Dan Davidson will chalk up 300 episodes. Give them some subscribing love over in your podcast app of choice, or even on YouTube. Well, speaking of podcast offerings, Trek Zones is live. Find each of Trek Zone's shows on Google or Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and more. You can also find our channel now in the iTunes library for a one-stop shop for all of Trek Zone's goodness. So jump onto your favourite podcast app, find Trek Zone, and subscribe. Memberships are available too, for both early access for a cup of coffee a month and behind the scenes for our next Star Trek fan film at the cost of about a streaming service, but it comes directly to me and supports us to tell some great stories. That is all coming up. Of course, our social media feeds as well have podcast highlights and Star Trek episodes, as they always have and always will. Get all the details over on Trek Zone right now. I'm Matt Miller for Trek Zone. Let's chat about this week's news, this week's Star Trek production news. Star Trek Legacy. Are we going to get it? Are we going to see it? Let's talk about it down in the comments.